Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesday. It's July 29th, 2025. We're very glad you're with us this afternoon. Please note this event is being recorded, and the recording will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For everybody who's on Zoom today, please feel free to put in your contact information, connect with other people who are on the call today. That's all what LinkedIn is about, connecting with other people. So feel free to put in your name, position you're looking for, put in your email address, your LinkedIn address, and any other comments. And if you have companies that you can help share and maybe help somebody else on this call, please list those in the call too, and let us know how we can help you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those in the Dallas-Fort Worth area who were unemployed. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me, I always have copies with me in person. Since 2007, I've led the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. And since 2017, I've been a member of the PIC crew, also known as the Practice Interview Team. Don't wait till you have a real interview to practice interviewing. Go check out dallaspicrew.com for more information. Well, normally 4 Tuesdays of the month, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn, each from a different point of view. But today being the 5th Tuesday of the month, we have a special guest speaker. Lynn Williams is with us. Lynn is the executive director of Great Career Network, which provides online career development and networking for career transition job seekers and career management, those who are employed and self-employed. Lynn writes resumes, LinkedIn profiles, and LinkedIn company pages, and focuses on keywords. So Lynn, thank you very much for being with us today. You're going to talk about how to develop successful job search strategies for job seekers. So Lynn, thank you for being with us, and I'll turn over to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate being here. So I'm going to put my links in. I see there's 44 people on here. So if by chance there's other people that come in, I might have to put these links in again. So I'm going to share my screen. Oops. If you could unshare your screen so I can share mine, that would be great. All right. Okay. We are going to do a Google slide deck. I don't do PowerPoint, and the reason for that is I flip back and forth between all the little tabs on Google so I can do some live demos and pull other things up while I'm speaking. So the last link in the chat is the link to the deck, so please feel free to jump on. So here's the link to the deck. If you don't have access, to the chat or something, if you take a screenshot of this particular slide, you'll have everything we're talking about, of course, with the exception of the live demos. So I've got 4 learning objectives today. And Jeff, do we only have till 3 p.m.?
Well, we can go to, I tell people we can go a few minutes over, but.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest this is a lot of content. So I'm going to suggest we wait till the end to take questions so that I can cover everything that we need. Okay?
That's fucking bullshit.
All right, so we need to remove somebody. Yeah, okay. All right. All right, so here's learning objective number 1. You have a list of some key job search strategies, tactics, and career management resources. So some to start out with are you want to make sure that you have a modern resume format. Now, I believe in having 2 resumes, a pretty resume for humans and a deconstructed resume for the bots. So a pretty resume for humans has some color pops in it, and the deconstructed resume for the bots has all the formatting out of it, and it has just plain old black and white, Arial 12-point font. So I've built in some hyperlinks into the deck. So if you click on this, you've got an article that has a bunch of links to some carousels that I built on LinkedIn a couple years ago, I think. So, all right, we're going to remove somebody else. All right, and sorry about that. So here we go. You've got a deck to go along with, words. And so you can kind of direct yourself in your own resume review. So in this particular article, whoops, I got to go back. Let me go back to the article. You'll see a bunch of different decks. So here, for example, is the applicant tracking system. That's the last one, number 14. So they're all different, so you can do like a little self masterclass, so to speak. All right. You want to optimize your LinkedIn profile with keywords. Keywords are essential. LinkedIn is a database. So you want to have different strategies for different keywords in different places on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. So, give you an example is if you go to LinkedIn and you go to enter something in your skills section. So if I click the plus button and I wanted SOP, standard operating procedure, you can't use those 3 letters in the skills section because that's not in LinkedIn's database. You have to choose this one because it's in the drop-down menu, okay? The same thing happens to job titles. So I use embellished job titles in my LinkedIn profile, but that is because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm not a job seeker. So for example, if I wanted to add a position and maybe my title is Project Manager 3. Well, that may be my title, but that's not what we're going to put in LinkedIn. We're just going to put in Project Manager because it's in the drop-down menu. All right, next thing is we're going to talk about a memory dart. And this article, it talks about elevator pitches and how to perfect your elevator pitch. So I have a whole bunch of people here that I share their formats with for elevator pitches. And my most favorite one is Steve Woodruff. He talks about something that's a memory dart. A memory dart is where you have an elevator pitch that's like 15 seconds or less, and that can actually align with your LinkedIn profile. So if I put in elevator pitch in greatcareers.org, you're going to see 2 articles. Okay, one is tips on how to perfect your elevator pitch, which is the link that's in the deck. And then can your elevator pitch and LinkedIn headline align? And that's what I'm talking about. So when I work with people on their LinkedIn headlines, I focus on what's the job title you want, keyword, 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 or as many fit, and then a USP, a unique selling proposition. So that unique selling proposition, we'll pull that one up, USP. That's like a personal branding statement or value proposition statement. So how do you differentiate yourself from other people that are like you? So for example, if I wanted to say, hi, I'm Lynn Williams. I guide you to your keywords to beat the bots. Lynn Williams. Okay. It's short and sweet. It's less than 15 seconds. And hopefully I've put a vivid image in there to sort of pique your interest. And maybe you want to ask me, oh, what do you mean by that, Lynn? Right. And then I would come back and say, oh, I write resumes and LinkedIn profiles, and I focus on keywords. So you want to make it short and sweet so it's memorable and you stand out and you differentiate yourself from others. Next thing is you want to have a networking plan. You know, we all have goals, and it's best if we write them down. So we want to have a target company list for the companies that we'd like to work for. We have to know what the job titles are that we're looking for. And, you know, that kind of is going to get us organized. And then we're going to decide, well, what networking groups are we going to go to where we're going to get value, both online and in person. So when you go to a networking meeting, you want to be able to have a purpose. Who do you want to meet there? Does the organization publicize their attendance list in advance or anything like that? So if they don't, you know, hopefully people have name badges on, and hopefully you're wearing your name badge on the right side of your body, because when you go to shake a hand with somebody, your arms extend one to another and you can focus on that person's name badge. I know a lot of gentlemen like to wear their name badge on their pocket on the left side, but it actually should be on the right side. So when you go to a networking meeting, you also don't want to interrupt two people that are talking because they're getting to know each other. But if you see a loner, one person by themselves, by all means, you know, try to pick them up so that they can be, you know, you could be their wingman or wingwoman, and they might be an introvert. Now, if you see a group of 3 people or more, by all means, you know, jump in into the conversation and start meeting people. But you have to make networking a habit. You have to be positive and optimistic. Nobody wants to hang out with a curmudgeon. So if you have some sort of a spreadsheet, and again, you can click on all these links, but if you have some sort of a spreadsheet or a CRM system, you want to be tracking your job search. Next is, how else do you get yourself known out there? Well, one is write articles or blogs. So you have some subject matter expertise in your particular industry, and you can share it. Whether you write a post, a one-off article, or you commit to doing an ongoing LinkedIn newsletter. The newsletter is a beautiful thing because you're committing to a certain cadence of publishing, a week, a month, bi-monthly, quarterly, yearly. But the beautiful thing about the newsletter is that LinkedIn will push it out to your network. It's like having the red carpet rolled out for you. And the people that do choose to subscribe to your newsletter, they will be notified each time that you publicize your newsletter. So share your expertise, give out knowledge, and if you're going to publicize a post or an article or a newsletter, a poll or anything on LinkedIn, You definitely want to be commenting for like 15, 20 minutes before you publish anything. That'll kind of get the algorithm warmed up, so to speak, that you are engaging and interacting on the platform, and that will only help you. So when you comment on somebody else's post, you want to comment with like 13 words or more. You don't want to do great read, interesting article, worth attending. To me, that shows that you're not adding any value of thought leadership. It's just a short and sweet comment. And why would other people want to read it? So you want to put some thought leadership and write at least a sentence or more when you are commenting on somebody else's post to add value. It has the potential to reach your network, their network, and everybody else that comments on it. LinkedIn's algorithm might say with all this activity, it notifies people at times that there's a lot of activity on a particular article or post. You want to volunteer, by volunteering, you're sharing your time with people who have like-minded interests that you have for a particular area. So maybe it's veterans, maybe it's pets, maybe it's, career success groups. Maybe it's homelessness or, something like that. So find like-minded people, and if they see you in action and get to know your skills, you never know who knows who, and your name can be passed on for a potential job that you don't know about. If you are seeking board positions, the same thing. It's volunteering, but it's serving on a board. And it could be a 501c3 nonprofit, it could be a 501c6 or other nonprofit, or it could be a for-profit. I don't know if you're familiar with the book called The Go-Giver, but that was my favorite book in 2013 when I was actually a job seeker. I didn't know that I was going to be so blessed and I would reap what I sow by giving. So that's why I do presentations. I give my knowledge and insights to help others, and it does come back to bless me. You also want to fine-tune your interview skills. So this one I will click on. This will take you to the greatcareers.org website. And right under resources, here's our interview resources. This was an article I wrote. Here's an even more comprehensive article that I wrote with AI resources and interview tips. And then this gentleman down here, Les Zagarnik, he passed away a couple months ago, but he wrote these two articles. But you definitely want to watch part 1, part 2, part 3 of his videos, because there really are great tips. He was a recruiter for over 30 years, and he's got a lot of great insights to share. Okay, now also you got to be a lifelong learner. It's wonderful that you're here today. You're learning, you're picking up tips and ideas and resources and links. So here is an article. Let's never stop learning. I have over 100 links of places where you can go upskill and reskill. And guess what? This does not even include all the AI stuff. This was written before AI. So this list could probably be massively expanded, but I'll leave it as this for now. You can attend workshops. So my nonprofit runs 18 to 25 events a month, and you can see here I am. I do cross promote when I'm speaking. So we have a meetup group, and there's all our events for the month of July. And then here are all the events for the month of August. And that's as far as I've got so far. All right. Now, maybe when you go to some online networking meetings, or if you go to an in-person networking event, you might be asked to bring a one-pager, a handbill, a marketing document. It has many different names. So the idea is it's just one page. It's you encapsulated on one page, and I no longer live in King of Prussia, so this is a little bit old, but it might have your education on it, your work experience, maybe some career highlights, summary profile, your core competencies, and especially your target companies. So everybody should have a target company list of who they'd like to work for. Um, and it's better talking to people about, let's say if you were in the pharmaceutical industry, Pfizer, Merck, AstraZeneca, people can relate to company names more so than industries. Okay, well, pharmaceuticals, I mean, those stand out, but it really does help to share specific company names. Now, we are having a new website built, so I do have a current one pager for networking. Again, that one's a little bit old, that somebody else gave me to upload, and it's on our website. But you can get an idea. It's just, a one sheet that's concise and succinct, and maybe doesn't have all the bullet pointed details like a resume does. You can also develop a company list from Reference Solutions. So Reference Solutions used to be called Reference USA, and it is a database in your library. So if you go on your library website and go under databases or Reference Solutions, it's part of Data Axle, and you typically have to have a library card in order to access it. The library has to pay a subscription for it based upon usage, and they don't want me in Pennsylvania accessing the library in Dallas, for example, and vice versa. They want to pay for their local, people to have access to that database. But when you go to Reference Solutions, you can put in an SIC number, which is Standard Industry Classification, or you can put in NAICS. I believe that's National Association of Industry Classification Systems. So I'm going to make up a number because I don't know what it is, but let's say the pharmaceutical industry was 80334. Okay, so you could put in 80334, and you could say, I want all the companies that are within a 10-mile radius, a 20-mile radius, a 25-mile radius of my particular locale. And that's the database, and it will pump out the names of companies that you might want to apply to or learn more about. Because, a lot of remote roles are going by the wayside, or they're becoming hybrid. Companies want to see your white eyes and your smile in their office, as more often than they want to see remote happening. So another thing is you can send out an email newsletter. Now, there are rules and laws. One of them is the CAN-SPAM Act of 2003, and I've linked that. You cannot just send people out newsletters from like MailChimp or Constant Contact, Mad Mimi, Aweber, that you can't just send them out without having them opt in. All right. They've got to opt in some way, shape, or form. So you want to get people's permission before you add them to an email list that does mass distribution. If you send people an email one at a time, different story. But here's an example of an email that you might want to send out. And then what could you put in your email newsletter, or maybe build on a Google site? For example, you could build a newsletter on a Google site about you, networking philosophy, how you can help me, include your target companies, how I known people that have done this and they have landed some jobs. It's not a standard job search technique. Next thing is you can do informational interviews, and there's a link to an article there. I once did an informational interview with a career counselor who had been at the University of Pennsylvania Wharton Oh, she must have been there for like 16 years, and she was the cousin of one of my chapter leaders. And so I made an agenda. And when I sent her a calendar link, because we were communicating on LinkedIn first, when I send her a calendar link with a Zoom or my phone number, I don't remember what it was at the time, I attached the agenda. So she was aware that I had an agenda and I wanted to find out more information about her. But typically, when you're doing an informational interview, you generally want to keep it to maybe, 10, 15 minutes for the promise. And when you reach that point, maybe I'm only up to question 14 on that. When you reach that point, just say, oh, I mentioned that I only wanted 10, 15 minutes and I want to respect your time. So we can either reschedule to answer the other questions, we can continue, or we can just conclude and I'm thrilled, with the information that I have. So you let them decide what the next step is. And in this case, this particular person did spend 40 or 45 minutes with me answering the other questions because she liked talking about herself. So that was kind of good. And, you when you were a little kid, your mommy and daddy said, don't talk to strangers, right? Because that's bad. But now that you're a big person, you do need to talk to strangers. So when you are doing informational interviews, you are reaching out to people that you don't know. You could ask for a warm introduction through LinkedIn, through a first level connection who is also connected to them, or you could reach out on your own to somebody completely blind that you don't know. Or you could do the commenting on LinkedIn. So commenting creates discoverability, credibility, and visibility. So when I mentioned before about it has the potential of going out to your network, their network, and the other people that comment, that is a true story because I've been notified after I've commented on somebody's post that somebody else commented on it, and it just like rehashes it because it wants me to go back and look at that person's comment. Another thing you could do is a value proposition statement. Now, I don't know if you've seen this book before. It was published in October of 2016. There are 16 career coaches from around the country that have contributed chapters to this book. The foreword of the book was written by the very famous Dick Bowles, the author of What Color's Your Parachute? I wrote chapter 8. They first had me starting on writing about the applicant tracking system and how to apply to jobs through the ATS. At that time, there were over 200 applicant tracking systems. Now, I have a resource page where a few weeks ago it said there were 588 applicant tracking systems according to that one resource. Then I went back and it got reduced to 388. So I'm scratching my head like, how did it suddenly get reduced to 200? I don't know. But I was at a SHRM conference in Atlantic City last year, and there's somebody that I met, and he said, oh, there's over 900 applicant tracking systems worldwide. So he did write a book, and he is involved in that world, so I wouldn't put it past him. But one way to avoid the applicant tracking system is to network. Another way to avoid the applicant tracking system is to create a value proposition letter. Now, value proposition letter is where you do not send your resume. You are sending a letter like snail mail, envelope, stamp, remember those things? You're sending it to the CEO or CMO or CIO or CXO, whatever. And you're going to write a short, sweet, concise letter of about 100 to 150 words that has a few accomplishments in it. And you're telling them why you think they should talk to you. What is your value proposition that you bring? Because maybe you read something in your local business journal or something like that that piqued your interest, and you're reading between the lines saying, oh my gosh, I have expertise that I think I can help this company. So again, you're not sending a resume, you're sending a value proposition letter, and you're going to invite them to follow up with you, or better yet, you're going to state, hey, I'm going to follow up with you in a week or two or something like that. So how do you write a value proposition letter? Well, there's a link here. So I'm going to click on that. That'll take you to a Google Doc here that has, here's your build your value proposition letter in 11 easy steps. This I wrote quite some time ago, and I do a workshop on it. And I think I would tweak and change some things in here, but this will give you some gist. But it's this short and sweet, as you can see on the right, and you put some accomplishments in it, especially with metrics. It is too tough of a job market right now to not include metrics, at least in every single bullet point of your resume, but also in a value proposition letter. Okay, learning objective 2. Learn how to research your best keywords. So here's a bunch of articles, and yes, you can get keywords out of ChatGPT, but I'm currently working on writing my doctoral dissertation on the topic of LinkedIn for job seekers. As a doctoral student, there's something called triangulated research. That means I have to get research from 3 sources in order to make it valid and reliable. I treat that as a transferable concept, not skill, concept. So when I talk about keywords, I use a multi-prong approach in order to get keywords. Using just ChatGPT will not get you the most complete list of keywords, and it's AI that's getting it for you. So I'm going to do a live demo now. And here I am. I'm going to go put in job type jobs. And for example, we'll just use a project manager. And I'll do Dallas, Fort Worth Metroplex. So we always want to look for jobs in the large metropolitan area. Now, you can see there's 3,346 results in the dark blue. Now, if I change this to project management and I search again, there's now 4,420. So to me, keywords matter, synonyms matter. So if I were to talk about team, the word team leader, team leadership, team manager, team management, team builder, team building, team developer, team development, team player, team oriented, cross-functional team leader, cross-functional team leadership. I just spit out 13 versions of team. How do you know which version of team is going to be the best hits on LinkedIn? Which one is found most frequently in the jobs that you want to apply to? So you don't know what you don't know unless you look these things up. Now, a lot of times I will go to Google Trends, which is trends.google.com, and I will put in project manager, and I'm going to hit explore. And then I'm going to compare that to project management. And now I have data from Google Analytics. But this is from the United States in the past day. That's not relevant to me if I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So I'm going to click on this and type in Dallas. There it is, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. I don't want the past day. I need a little bit longer than that. I want like the past 90 days. So now I have a bar chart and a line chart. Valid data from Google. What is being searched on Google? Well, you can see that project management is being searched more than project manager. So that kind of aligns with what's going on in LinkedIn and what's going on with the jobs. So it's important, especially when you are looking up a few job titles, you want to find out what version of the job title is getting more hits or is getting more search for. you don't have time to look up all the keywords, but especially soft skills, problem solving, communication, interpersonal skills, but you definitely want to look up a few of the keywords for the hard skills and kind of get a handle and a pulse on what's happening on Google as well as what's happening on LinkedIn. All right, moving on to the next one. So ChatGPT, obviously you can use this prompt, make a list of the key skills for this job in alphabetical order, and capitalize the first letter of each word. So let me just copy this, and we'll just do a live demo here. So here's my prompt. I'll pop it into ChatGPT, and let me go to LinkedIn. I'm going to close that up. I'm going to go to my project manager. I'm just going to pick this one because it's easy. It's the first one. Now, I don't need to include the featured benefits and the salary information, but I will get the job description here and pop that in right after my prompt. And sure enough, ChatGPT will give me an alphabetical list of bullet pointed keywords. Now, remember how I showed you the example of SOP? There's somebody I saw on LinkedIn that had capital S, capital O, capital P as a keyword in his skill section. He also had the one that had standard operating procedure, parentheses, SOP, close parentheses, and he had capital S, small o, small p. So 2 of those are being wasted as keywords in his LinkedIn skills. LinkedIn's database does capitalize the first letter of each word. So you need to go back and review your skills section and say, did that word come out of my brain? Or did it come off my fingers typing, all lowercase, or is it in LinkedIn's database? So you may have to do a little deletion and additions or tweaks or modifications. But you used to be able to have 50 skills. Now you can have up to 100. So I'm going to close down Google Trends. I'm going to close down my Meetup. And for those of you who came in a little bit later, I'm going to copy and paste my links and the link to the deck in the chat again. So you can access that because we now have 58 on here. All right. Let me close down a couple windows here. I got a lot open. All right. Going back to the slide deck. Now, your headline and your banner can't be ho-hum. You have to be memorable. You have to stand out in some way, shape, or form. Now, this particular person has now bought a franchise and no longer does what is in here. But this was the title that she had. We did put a couple emojis in, and we put her title and her credentials afterwards. And then this was Strategic Compass for Talent Management and People Success. So obviously she's in HR, and we put the compass, as an image in that banner along with her USP. So right here is a link. Is your headline memorable? So here are some step-by-step instructions on how to make your LinkedIn headline memorable with a unique selling proposition as a job seeker or even as a client seeker. So it's all about, standing out. So I'm going to go to the end and get to the bottom line here. So here's somebody huff and puff and blow that old website down and make your brand oink. Okay. Now, if there was somebody that I knew I met at a networking event and I knew I connected with him, but I couldn't remember his name, but I do remember something about pigs. Well, what do pigs do? They oink. So you can actually add and search for a keyword on LinkedIn. So here's oink. All right, well, what am I looking for? I'm looking for people. I'm looking for first level connections. Now, I did not build his LinkedIn profile, but I might have had something to do with his headline because he's a friend of mine. And I used him as a demo for a women's conference of 200 entrepreneurial women. So here, empowering small business. So he's got his target market with comprehensive digital solutions, web development, graphic design, branding, and marketing. Look at all those keywords. Okay. Huff and puff and blow that old website down and make your branding oink. Well, the name of his company is Pig Art Graphics. So, that's how to do something slightly differently to make yourself stand out. So if I go back to, hang on that article, all right, here's another one. If you're in marketing, conversions and engagement better than hot buttery popcorn at the movies. If you can make people smile, giggle, laugh, and create an impression or get them to feel something when they go to your LinkedIn profile, that's a beautiful thing. Here's another one, better than a triple dip ice cream, right? A trifecta of solutions. So if you are on ChatGPT, you could just type a prompt and say, create actually, I'm going to show you something else that I've already done just to save time because I'm looking at the time. I'm going to run out of time. Here we go. Here's somebody that was in public relations. So create a unique selling proposition of less than 10 words for a LinkedIn headline using the words public relations that would follow these words that already exist. Marketing coordinator, copywriter, media engagement, storytelling, social media brand awareness, content strategy. Give me several choices that are conservative and several that are memorable. Well, here are the choices that came out with, that ChatGPT came out with, that are conservative. And here are several that are memorable. So how do you stand out and do something slightly differently? Public relations that gets people talking, turning heads into public relations wins, public relations with a purpose and a punch. And you could have a little emoji of the little punch boxing gloves. PR magic that moves the needle. Oh, well, you could have the little magic wand emoji and you can have the needle or sewing emoji. So where do I get my emojis from? Emojipedia.org. I'll put that, there's the nerd one. I'll just put that in the chat. I don't know if I have that built into my deck anywhere, but let's say I wanted chart increase. So I'm going to just click on that. I click copy and I can click paste. I would typically use no more than 1 or 2 emojis in a headline, and I would use them towards the end. I want the front end to be all words, keywords, for various reasons. I'm going to sort of say that because of my website building knowledge. I'm a little bit of a WordPress geek, so I build in keywords and whatnot in the back end of my blog articles on the nonprofit website. All right. Moving on. Your about section, you need to make it skimmable and scannable. If you were to go to somebody's LinkedIn profile and they had like 4 or 5 dense paragraphs of text, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to read it. My eyes are going to glaze over. If it is not skimmable, scannable, short and sweet, so I can get a good handle on you, I'm just not going to read it. So I believe as a boomer, you need to show that if you are my age, you are not a technological dinosaur and you know how to use emojis. There was an article that came out, I saw it within the past week. I don't know, it was one of the magazines, Forbes, Fortune, Fast Company, something like that. and it said people that use emojis are more fun. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fun. So I think you need to put pops of color in your LinkedIn profile. Now, the people that I'm going to bring up, I know this is being recorded. I would not bring them up if I did not have their permission. I do have their permission. So what I'm going to do is show you what the emojis look like. Here's Bernadette. So Bernadette, project management, not project manager, okay, other keywords, and then expertise in cross-functional team leadership and strategic enterprise technology deployments, okay? So that's that USP. Now, let's go look at her about section. Here is, title, experience in what industries, expertise in, strengths include, known for. All these keywords came from the data-driven decision-making analysis from a spreadsheet, from especially the jobs that she wanted to apply to. She also is currently working on some certifications, so she added that on. Now, you can't necessarily do this on a resume, but on LinkedIn, don't you think you should, it's your personal profile and you don't want to be all fuddy-duddy business-like, show people you have personality and you have interest. And so if you had soccer on here, somebody could say, hey, I read your LinkedIn profile and I see you like soccer. Do you like to play or do you like to watch? And if you like to watch, what team do you like to watch? Yes, my son-in-law, he's got the biggest, hugest Argentina tattoo on his thigh when they won. It was crazy. He went out and got that tattoo right away. So here's your tech stack. So some people have some way more extensive tech stacks than this, but if you categorize them, they can go horizontal rather than vertical, and it's nice and easy to read. Some of the keywords you want in here either are repetitive or they're different versions of the keywords. So like I showed you SOP down in the skills section, you might just have the 3 letters SOP if somebody wanted to find you. And then, seeking new opportunity, hashtag O&O, hashtag open to work, put your contact information in. Now, she put the career break in there, but I did not. So here you have bullet point, white space, bullet point, white space. Everything is well written. There's a metric in every single one. Because of the white space, those metrics pop out. And some people say, oh, Lynn, I don't remember. That was 20 years ago. That was 30 years ago. I had a nurse 48 years ago. She became a nurse. I'm going to pull it out of you some way, shape, or form. There are metrics. It doesn't always have to be your individual contribution or what happened in the company. You supervised a team of 2. You worked on a team of 8. You worked in a company of 700. You worked in a company that does 14 billion a year. That gives you some metrics. You worked in a 216 bed hospital. Okay. So those are just the facts, ma'am, right? So it doesn't always have to be how you move mountains, but if you can get some sort of a metric when you go back in time, and you don't have to be a perfectionist. No, it wasn't 72.3%. It was about 70 or under 75 or, over 70. You can round it out so that it makes sense. And if somebody from your past comes in and says, oh, that number's not right. Oh, well, thanks for letting me know. Okay. Do you have the data to back that up? And I will certainly change it. Right. So according to one career coach that I know that does presentations on background checks, I think companies can only go back 7 to 10 years. So, if you're putting metrics in and you think it's a reasonable guess, I wouldn't sweat the small stuff. I really wouldn't. So, but you want to break up your about section, with emojis and white space and bullet points. Now, people ask me, should your resume and LinkedIn be matchy-matchy? My answer is yes, your base resume. Now, you never put a resume on LinkedIn. No, do not put that in your featured section. Why? Because it is not a customized resume. If you have well-written content on your base resume, you copy and paste that on LinkedIn, bullet point, white space, bullet point, white space. But you take that base resume, and when you're applying to ABC company, you're going to go file, save as ABC company, file, save as XYZ company, and you tweak out the keywords and the key title. You can customize a resume with that little bit of information within 5 minutes. Okay, if you have the right format of resume. If you want to take pains and weave in key phrases, to sort of play the game and game the game with the applicant tracking system, you can do that too, but it does take more time. So, applicant tracking system, I'm actually doing a presentation on that on Thursday. And this is based upon the chapter that I wrote in that book. So basically, you want to have a resume that can be read by the bots. It's pretty black and white, boring, no formatting, because you don't know what kind of applicant tracking system you're going to get. You may not get Workday or iCIMS, the big boys who have the money, and the software to read and decipher sophisticated things, versus a smaller company might have a less well-known applicant tracking system that's a little bit more persnickety. So that's why, I believe in having a pretty resume for humans and a deconstructed resume for bots. So I will see if we have time for me to do a live demo here. So I'm going to skip this slide for now because I want to keep going here. Because here we are, learning objective 3, and I got 7 minutes left. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here's what my pretty resume looks like with some shaded blue bands. And this is one way to write career highlights. I now like to put them in buckets, and I like to bold numbers. But you've probably seen this image before, and it's a Business Insider article when they did a research study with the ladders. And they had recruiters wearing these special goggles, and they were looking at resumes. The black and white resume, the heat maps of where the recruiter's eyes went, it goes down 2/3 of the way. Okay. When you have these shaded bands, and this was turned into grayscale, when you have these shaded bands, the recruiter's eyes went from top to bottom. That is why I have one and only one resume format that I've used for over a decade, and it's this one with the shaded blue bands. Works for men, works for women, it's conservative, works on Wall Street, and it's very easy to deconstruct to an applicant tracking system resume. You should never have 2 columns or anything like that, or a one-page resume that's highly formatted with all pops of color. I know a lot of graphic designers, want to tend towards those kinds of resumes. You can have a portfolio of your work, but definitely don't do that with your resume. So here is the basic, boring black and white Arial 12-point font resume. And when you have the core competencies, that gets taken out of the 3 columns and it becomes skills and goes at the end. Actually, I'm now taking the bullet points out. So I probably should update this screenshot now that I'm looking at it. But here's an article that, was written, and that's what got 19 tips in it. And this is what started the chapter of the book that I showed you before. Okay, so you can also prepare a portfolio presentation. Now, when I was toying around with looking for some jobs a few years ago, I made some decks, and it was before Canva was a thing. And so I'm going to show you what not to do, because I wouldn't do this anymore. But where did I get this idea from? Well, Eric Kramer was the one of 2 people that started my meetup group back in 2010. When I took it over in 2015, we had 1,722 members. Now we have over 7,900 members. So we've grown. But this book, I wouldn't buy it. I just, get it from the library and look at the back end of the book. And that's where I got my ideas for what you can put in a portfolio presentation in a slide deck. But I also wrote a couple articles on portfolios. And so here's linked one of them on the website. So, overview, resume, cover letter, transcripts, certifications, and clearances. And then you can also do recognitions in the news publications, letters of recommendation. If you print all this stuff out and you go to Staples, they have like spiral binding. You can get a clear cover and a blue or black, heavier plastic back. Then you can take this to maybe a second or interview or third interview, and you have a leave behind. And you customize the cover under the clear plastic that has the company colors and the company logo so they can see you've taken the time to customize it for them. It is a leave behind, and I had an interview 8 times with one company. They were so impressed with my leave behind. I didn't get hired. I'm the mother of an AUDHD adult child, autistic and ADHD, and the president of the company was also autistic, and he could not make a decision and couldn't figure out why I would be paid so much more than his assistant who hadn't worked for 18 years and was so happy to come back from the job market versus somebody, who had been working in the job market and came in. So, long story short, 8 times I drove a 2-hour round trip and I didn't get the job. But nonetheless, they were impressed with my portfolio. So, here's a couple examples of portfolios. I don't use PowerPoint too much at all anymore. Okay. But you can click on this source and you will see, what I put on the deck. I could format it so much better now. My skills have improved a lot. And then here's the next one, which is a Google slide deck. And I would now use canva.com. They have some beautiful presentation decks, and it looks so much more sophisticated and classy than, what I did in the past. But, learn from people's mistakes. But there are some great articles on portfolios on the greatcareers.org website. Just type in portfolio in the search bar. So on the left are my upcoming workshops. On the right are the Great Careers events. And it also includes affiliate events where I am speaking. I think I'm speaking 3 times tomorrow, 3 times in one day. So here is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out and connect. So here I am, Snazzy Graphics, LinkedIn for Nonprofits. I forgot to put my applicant tracking system on there on the 31st and something else. There's actually, I got, I'm on 2 other things on the 30th, so I need to put that in there too. And then here I am through December. And then here is the overall, access to the deck, etc. So it is now 3:00. I can go back and do this slide, or I can answer questions. What would you like me to do, Jeff?
Well, Rosalind asked a good question. How come when you use Google Trends and you add additional terms for comparison, the trending of perhaps the initial or additional terms change the trend value just by adding additional terms?
Yes, like I've added PMO office, right? And that one like comes out yellow and it flatlines. The idea is that keywords are 1, 2, or 3 words typically. Anything more than that is a key phrase, and it's not a keyword in my opinion. So a lot of people put core competencies on their resume. In fact, I just spoke to somebody earlier today, and he had this, almost a full sentence bullet point, and I'm like, it's really not a keyword. You're writing a bullet point. A keyword needs to be short and sweet. And the more parameter or more terms or adjectives that you put on it, it's going to be not be as findable. You won't be as findable using that term as you would be with the more generic term. So let's see if I can.
And while you're looking, if I may, Len.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna look up
while you're
another
looking,
deck.
what I was really trying to do, Jeff and Len, was to go to my headline, put project management, program manager, collaborative, team player, and have it separated by pipes. But I did the trending just to see if those words within the pipes, what the values were. And that's when I noticed it, as you said, flatlined or, decreased.
Yep. Yeah, it does. You want more generic terms in order to be found. Doggone it. I know it's on one of these things here. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay. So I'm going to go to LinkedIn's GitHub Career Explorer. Let me put that in the chat. And I'm going to show you one more thing here. So when you scroll down here, you're going to find Atlanta. And that's where you're going to start. Okay, here we go. Atlanta metropolitan area. So we're going to make this Dallas, Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. So here we're going to put in project manager. Now, what kind of project manager are you? So when you find something, let's just say project manager, just in general, okay?
Yeah.
So here it's giving you some keywords that it's suggesting. And over here on the right, look at this, skills overlap, skills to build, popularity, find jobs, find connections on LinkedIn. So play around on this GitHub. This is a great place for keywords.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, when you get into more specific keywords and that adjectives, it's not going to be on there. It wants the short and sweet generic version. So you can't put a lot of weight in here because this is not specified by job. It is just generic per LinkedIn's database. But at least you can find out what the words are. Like you can't be project manager 3, right? So you have to be the generic project manager or facilities or construction or digital or training or something like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
Heather asked, is it better to be focused on a particular position on LinkedIn or include all positions that you are open to?
In my humble opinion, you need to hyper-focus, okay? You need to have tunnel vision. 1, maybe 2 areas of interest. Now, I come from a background of entrepreneurship, working in the corporate world, working in K-12 education, and working in nonprofit. So I have those industries and I've had lots of different positions. I've been a Western regional sales manager of 14 states. My husband and I ran a general contracting firm. We did 5 to 7 million a year. We had 24 employees, but that doesn't help me with what I do right now. I mean, it does because I'm familiar with the terminology and whatnot. And I have a lot of healthcare clients. I have a lot of IT clients. So it's more for me about the keywords and the positioning of who you are and where you want to go, but I wouldn't spread yourself too thin. I could sit here and say I'm a Jack or a Jill of all trades because I've got a lot of business acumen over, the decades of experience I have in a lot of different industries, but you really want to hyper focus on 1 to 2 jobs. If you have a good base resume, you put that on LinkedIn. You take that base resume and you can customize and tweak it to each job description. But you just don't want to spread yourself all over the map because you will not have clarity to the reader on your LinkedIn profile. So I hope that answers your question. If not, please, re-ask.
Yeah, I agree with your comments. Ahmed asks, should we put keywords on each separate line or separate them with the pipe symbol or a comma?
Okay. Being in Dallas, you probably know Kevin Turner, who you should absolutely positively follow. He puts out all the information on the latest and the greatest LinkedIn. I have the greatest respect for this man. He does not like pipes. Okay. So he uses these little emojis, the feather things. And I've said, Kevin, I understand your point of view. Honestly, I've used pipes for over a decade. And if my clients were not landing jobs, I would get rid of my pipes. So I like the concept of pipes separating, keywords. It has not backfired on me. But I do like if you go to his YouTube channel and you look up market value filter as a search term, market value filter, you will see him explaining that LinkedIn is a database. And just like I showed you in the skills section, SOP versus standard operating procedure, parentheses SOP, that's what he's talking about, that LinkedIn is a database. And the GitHub, I just put that link in there. If you want to be found, you have to think, okay, who's paying LinkedIn? Recruiters who have Recruiter and Recruiter Lite. So if the recruiter is going to enter SOP in, they don't have anything but standard operating procedure, parentheses, SOP in their pull down menu to find somebody that has that skill. So you have to think like a database when you're writing a resume and when you're putting together your LinkedIn, because you've got this database, that GitHub, that's part of it. And also, you don't know what you don't know about the synonyms of the keywords unless you get involved in researching them. So another thing, being a doctoral student, I like research and I like data. So, that's another concept. And as a former K-12 teacher, we did data-driven decision making. We take a student at the beginning of the year, we measure quarter, did they make gains? So, from all my different backgrounds, in my business acumen, I just kind of mashed it all together, and there's little bits and pieces of it. And I hope that, I brought you some value today or planted some seeds in your mind to help you move forward, get a job.
Well, Lynn, I want to thank you very much. It's we've got people who are dropping off now because it's 10 minutes after the hour. So I really appreciate your time. Be sure to copy the chat because that's got Lynn's presentation in there that you can download and see. Next week, our speaker is going to be Locke Alderson. He's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies that get results. We do a LinkedIn presentation every Tuesday, so please come join us for that. On Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, the practice interview team will be meeting in person. So if you're living in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can come watch a practice interview from 1 to 3 o'clock. If you're not in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you can join us for session 1 of 13, preparing to be interviewed, how employment recruiting works and developing internet interview tools. This is part of our 13-part series that we did when COVID hit. And I'm just sort of letting people know who are not in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to be able to, spend the time honing up on your interviewing skills. That's a really long link there, so I don't expect anybody to copy it. But if you go to the Career USA YouTube, careerusa.org website, underneath the Career USA training, right there, it says 1 o'clock interview Wednesdays online. If you click on that, the link will be there every Wednesday, so you can get the session 2, session 3, session 4 as we move along every week. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, we're going to do open forum like we do every first Friday of the month. We'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. So come with your interview questions and problems, and everybody will be able to offer their opinions. We do meet in person, or we will be on Zoom. I know we usually average 20-25 people on Zoom every Friday. You're welcome to join the Career DFW or CareerUSA.org LinkedIn groups. We've got over 15,900 members in the Career DFW group. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I started each of these LinkedIn groups when we started the website. So you're welcome to join in one or both, because it just gives you more connections that you have as you're looking for people. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel. It'll be up later this afternoon. If you're not subscribed to our channel, please do so. That way, every time we post a new video, you'll find out about it. On the Career USA YouTube channel, every video I post goes into a playlist, one of 7 different lists. So you'll see the playlist listed there. Don't click on the video, but very bottom of where that red arrow is, click on View Full Playlist. And when you do that, up will come a list of the dates in chronological order, the topic, and the title, and you can go back and watch any video at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, you can join the Career USA mailing list. I control it, so you'll never be spammed. You can just scan this QR code and send a blank email, or just send a blank email to Career USA, the +subscribe at groups.io. We put out an email once or twice a week with all the upcoming workshops for that particular week. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, just like Lynn's organization. I'm a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. Everything I've done over the last 15 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, Lynn. Thank you very, very much.
All right.
And
Thank you for having me. Any more
you.
questions before we peace out?
Thank you so much, Lynn and Jeff.
All right.
We
Then
appreciate
I'm
your
going to
help.
stop
guys.
share. Hope to see you
Thank
again
you.
online, folks.
Thanks, Lynn.
Take care.